Schmooks.
The old almighty Chimokemon. Okay, let me hold up here.
Chimokes.
Bonjour Anishinaabe. Welcome to Red Mike Podcast.
Smooth.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Bonjour Anishinaabe. This is Red Mike Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas X. And in the building right now, on the podcast, our guest, the Ojibwe Outlaw, Johnny R. What's up, bro?
On in.
So, you just killed your set. Killed it up there.
I felt it, man. That was a good crowd. I liked the response I was getting. I usually get nervous around, the Red Lake conference crowd because they're scared to, go with what I'm trying to say. And
For me, it's like seeing a bunch of people I know.
yeah,
Trying to do my art form and perform it for a bunch of people. When I see these people, I'm having my usual conversation and just your usual Red Lake, just whatever, just your happenings, and then all of a sudden I gotta turn into Thomas X now and perform and rap. And it's a little bit more difficult doing the rap things. There's the elders, the moms with the kids, so I'm like, how do I do this so it's still entertaining and not coming off like, holy Christ, there's this rapping native.
Yeah.
For comedy, you do it well, pulled it off. Yeah, the Red Lake crowd for me is difficult, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I go somewhere else, I don't know anybody, so I just feel like I'm gonna get on stage, I'm gonna be this cool Thomas X persona. That's what I do. And do you feel so there's you, Lydell. So I put your government name on there.
No problem.
There's you, Johnny at home, the father of 12/10 at home. The husband, and then there's you, the comedian. Is it for me I've gotten better at it. I'm able to turn it on once it's time to perform.
Yep.
I could vibe with you on the fact that you're a father, you got to provide, and then there's times where you have a full-time job. Trying to do these things like being a comedian or a hip-hop artist, you're so time-consumed with your life providing for your family. How have you been able to still grow and add to your comedic art form while still handling all those things?
Well, most of my comedy is just my life experiences. Now it's at home, being a father, husband. Otherwise, it's the way I grew up in Red Lake. It's the way I share my stories. It's kind of, I've heard it described as rugged because the way I say things, the way I share my experiences, and there's no other way for me to get my message out other than to be what I am. Because there was a time when I started comedy, people would tell me, "Well, you should do a character. You should put makeup on, wear a dress, to get more." More exposure, people will relate to that. But I never went that route because that's not me. I don't go that far to reach an audience. All I can do is what I know. Because when I used to write a lot, and they'd always say, you got to write what you know. Growing up in Red Lake, raising kids, that's pretty much all I know. And it's really hard to try and be something else than what I was growing up to be.
Mm-hmm. And it reflects too in your set. I feel like you didn't necessarily go up there and have you got a punchline way to get the end of a joke you wrote about some scenario. You were more so up there telling stories. And just it was all about your life and experience, and it was killing with this crowd. It's the native crowd. So everything you said resonated and it was relatable, and that's why it was so funny. So I really appreciate how you work in your modern day native lifestyle into your comedy. Not only are you Red Lake Ojibwe and you're a comedian, but you also represent where you come from in your art form. When you step on stage, you're basically telling the stories of what it's like to be, a guy your age that grew up in these times, you know, and it's cool to see. When you said today you've been doing it 10 years, it was like crazy to me, because I've been doing rap about 10 years. I've been doing rap music, and then it made me realize we kind of have like a lot of similarities with our careers. It was where we, a lot of your comedy is involved with, you know, the Red Lake community. You're growing up in your own, like, the mixture of Ojibwe culture and lifestyle, res lifestyle with Americanized lifestyle. It's like the same with my music. I've been doing about the same. We talk about the same things. And, you know, you're older than me, but I still feel like you're more towards our generation than the one in front of you, the way you talk about things and the way you address things. So, like, I noticed earlier, before you got set up, you had an iPad, and you, like, set up the, you know, on the tripod or something. And I don't think people realize, like, you know, so you put yourself out there as a comedian. I put myself out there as a rap artist. And people just assume you're living this life that's the same as a Dave Chappelle or Kendrick Lamar. Like, we're just, like, supposed to do the same things, put out as much material and be in that lane. When, in fact, we have families, we'll have jobs, we have, you know, trials and tribulations we got to help handle with in our small community and our small families. People don't realize we're our own managers. We're, you know, not only are you a comedian, you're your own tech guy. You're setting up the iPad. So, like, what's it like having to, like, you know, pretty much be everything in your corner? You're like a 5-man team doing the job for, like, what it is to be a successful comedian.
Well, when I first started out, it got a little stressful. You know, I would record all my sets, but then I realized that worrying about the cameras, you know, worrying about my audio took away from me being able to prepare for a show. And sometimes it showed, you know, my performances wasn't all the way where I wanted to be because I was worried about my camera, worried about, you know, recording what I was trying to say. And so I didn't do that for a while. But now that I'm comfortable with my act, you know, my set, it's starting to, you know, even after 10 years, it's finally starting to come naturally to me. You know, I do still have notes, but that's just like a, not a crutch, but it makes me, I'm a little more comfortable, because if I do, you know, I can go from joke to joke, but if there's like a pause, you know, mentally I'm like, you can't do this. See, you're going to mess it up right now. See, you're not good. You're not good enough to be professional. And that still gets to me, even though I've been doing this so long. But now that I'm able to have everything set up the way I want it now, is a little more, not comforting, but, you know, it's easier to get to where I want to be now. It took a lot of work, you know, me mentally growing up in Red Lake, you always picture that one person. He thinks he's just funny. He thinks he's just cool because he goes to Hollywood and on TV. You know, that in my mind, there's always somebody back there saying that. And that,
Yeah.
It used to keep me from going where I want to be, but now I'm at a point where, shit, I just got to keep going, man. The only way I'm going to get there is just keep pushing through, and that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I just push through the obstacles and just make sure I'm doing what I want to do, the way I want to do it.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Like, I struggle with that too. It's a self-conscious thing that I subliminally think about. And like, I still do this today. Like, I avoid like eye contact with the crowd sometimes.
Yeah.
Because especially for me, as you know, doing a rap show, like, I'll get hired for some native rap artists. Considering what kind of music I make, they'll bring me in. It's like a native community event or something, you know. And it's like, people are sitting. It's not like, you know, I'm in a club at a crazy rap show. I'm at like some like community center, and there's like elders and the kids running around, and it's like people are sitting. So like, I gotta kind of have different types of sets. So it's like, if I do like look in the crowd and I see somebody just sitting there, just, you know, just nothing, you know, just like chilling and watching them, I'll look at them and then I make eye contact. And then while I'm rapping and performing, I start thinking, oh my God, am I sucking right now? Like, why are they just sitting there? Like, what's going on? And then like, it's just a ripple effect of suckery. And then like, I don't know. I like, I mind F myself into like bad thinking. So the whole, I'm with you though. I've gotten better over the years. It's, you know, working on things. Watching film has made me like change, you know, how I want to perform, you know, seeing like where I could just how I could enunciate things.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen you live in a while, and you've advanced a lot. And you,
Thank you.
like the way you presented, you were an MC up there. You know, when people hear the term MC, if you're native, you think the guy at the powwow.
Yeah.
Or if you're rap artist, MC, you think of a rapper. But MC just simply means master of ceremony. In a way, you're up there kind of leading your own little ceremony. You know, they say laughter is healing. And that's what you got brought in to do today. So like, yeah, you were on point with the word enunciation. You took your time. You pronounced everything. Like the crowd understood every word you said. And I think that's really important for comedy. So anybody coming up in the comedy game, presentation is really important.
Yeah.
So, So while you've been doing like the comedy thing, I feel like you were even doing like the podcast / interview thing at the same time. So I remember you and Brandon had the thing going for a while, and then you brought Michelle and Jordan in over by the powwow grounds. So like, have you been did you pick that up after comedy, or was it like around the same time?
Well, I started my video production in 2006, and it was, me, the Battle River guy, Kevin, Kavan, and my classmates, my Justin Smith. We'd sit around pretty much like a talk show type thing, and it was I think 2007 was the first time I did that with them, and it was something we kept trying to do, but Battle River, they come in and have a couple and few too many and get a little. Those are some great interviews, but they'll never see the light of day because of how much fun we had and all the trash we were talking, and it was just that wouldn't be. It's a lot of fun, but
nowadays it's not ideal.
No, it's like, I don't know, cancel culture would be.
It's horrible.
It is, man. You can't say. There are times where I'm like, should I say this? Will people, But I say it like today. I did my nicknames. My cousins and my, the ones that grew up with rugged nicknames, and that's just how we grow up, man. And there's really no way around how we talk to each other. Growing up, it was pretty rugged. Growing up, we got like to inspire us. Even coaches, call us a big Suze or something, or man up, and you can't say that anymore. And I understood that back then. I was like, how can they say that to you? They're being coaches and supposed to be molding us as responsible young men, but yet they still talk like that to us. And
yeah. I had a native who was our high school coach, and he told the kid, quit being fishy one day at practice.
Yeah, being a big fish.
It's because we're from the same community, and that's how we talk to each other. And like, that ruggedness that you speak of, it's just the style of humor around here. Like really just always stepping over the line. Just, it's like you kind of have to go over the top, and there's dudes who are just like that at all times. And like, that makes me think like, so like you made a career out of comedy, but I guarantee a whole bunch of dudes who are hilarious in their own way, and like same for me, like growing up in my age, we grew up on, rap culture and, the famous basketball players, with the basketball culture of Allen Iverson, the attitude era of wrestling. It was just like a style of, when I was growing up, everybody wanted to play ball, everybody wanted to rap. I know a bunch of people who could rap, like freestyle, like get a couple in them, a few in them, and then like they're chilling at the right moment. They start freestyling. It's like, damn, dude could rap, and he's just like some resi dude, And like, it's like with me, I was never the best rapper in Red Lake. I just liked it and I wanted to do it, and I kept doing it. And eventually, when you take your art form, you do got to create a business. You can't just be a dope rapper if you want to like do something with it, eventually make money. Got to create a business, same thing. A bunch of funny dudes who, if they wanted to, like I could name some right now that me and you both know, if they worked at it, they could create some kind of platform of being a comedian based off of the person that they are, like natives are storytellers, and tell your rugged story of growing up, living in Southside, having a full pamper. You painted the picture in my head where I saw the kid, probably crustier now, running around somewhere in a yard full of toys, is never clean, you know, and that's what was cool about your set. You brought that to life. What's been on your plate lately, man? I know you still got your Johnny R. Well, no, you call it Indian Way podcast. You got that going. How's the comedy game going? What you got coming up?
Well, next month I'm doing Cedar Lakes Casino in Cass Lake. I'll be with Tanya Jo Hall and Rob Fairbanks, and that should be a good one. I think their room may fit 400 or 500, and the last time Tanya came up there, she packed that place, and it's gonna be a good one. I haven't done that casino yet. I've done the Northern Lights ones and Monoman ones, but other than that, I'm just trying to get my own podcast going. And I started it 3 years ago, and I started out the Johnny R podcast and wasn't really getting anywhere, no traction. I was waiting years to get on iTunes, so I started it over and renamed it Indian Way with Johnny R. And that I'm actually on iTunes now finally, so I'm just trying to do weekly episodes. I did one with my wife a couple weeks ago. We went live on Facebook, and I got a good response from that. And because like we're saying, we know a lot of people that are naturally funny, and my wife is one of them. But the Ojibwe have this Indianish thing about them where they don't dare to step out and try to share their humor, or anything really. A lot of our people around here, they don't want to take that next step, and that made me think about where I'm going, what I'm doing. I got the Res Comedy documentary coming out, and I did a little bit acting in a local production here that's on Amazon, and I was also on the FNX channel with my comedy. And I was thinking, I see a lot of our people struggling, with addiction and alcohol, and I don't know if they had the opportunities that we have now to try and get out there. And it seems like whatever I do, it's like I'm just trying to not do it for them, but kind of like they're the ones that paved the way. They showed us what we were capable of. Like basketball players. A lot of them got as far as they could to make way for like you going to college and playing basketball, and for these young warriors that have been going to state. And it was gotta pay our respects to the ones that couldn't get. Didn't have the opportunities that we do now, and so that's pretty much what I think about when I get out. I got a lot of cousins that are, laugh my ass off around them, but they just didn't have the opportunities.
Yeah.
So,
and it's it takes support from others too.
Yeah.
Like I know those early years of trying to do something with rap music, run into a lot of roadblocks. And imagine the same thing trying to start a comedy career, and then there's obviously I know for me, I would think about it. Everybody doubting it, I guess comedy and rap would be in the same ballpark of genres that are like trying to start a big comedy scene in northern Minnesota, or let alone Red Lake.
Yeah,
like you say, there's gonna be the people who just look at you and kind of don't take you serious at all of trying to do it. When in reality, it's at some point everybody wants to do those things that we see, act in movies, be a part of something that's creative. Yeah. I was never the best rapper or the video maker. I just knew I wanted to create something, and I think it's important to know that if you do try to pick up on something, there's going to be a lot of, I call them lessons. People say L's, losses.
Yeah.
You come up short, things don't work out. I've made a lot of songs, recorded a lot of songs that have never seen the light of day. So I'd write it out, I'd record it, and I was just nah, it's just didn't turn out how I thought. Yeah. It's not as good as I thought.
It's not ready.
Yeah.
Not ready.
And then there was times where it just naturally happened, something just great happened so quick, or right on point at the right time. For me, nowadays I don't write. I haven't wrote a lyric down in years. I just memorize songs. I'm so busy that the only time I literally get to write or think of lyrics is in the car. The car ride to work.
Yeah.
The car ride home. The car ride somewhere. I'll throw on a beat, listen, and then I'm basically freestyling, just kind of like thinking of stuff, and then I'll think of that first line, how I want to start the verse, and I'll go from there. I got one line, then I'll rhyme with it, next line, and before you know it, I memorized the whole song. What's like, so obviously you take a lot from, you know, your own personal life. What would you, well, if you could, what's your process of like putting that into like a story where you present it as a stand-up set?
Well, most of it is just random thoughts that I have of, you know, I'll be in the middle of something, I'll be at work, or I'll be working out, or just driving. I think of something, I just write it down on my phone. Like the other day, I don't know if you saw the Seinfeld episode where he tried to write something down in the middle of the night and he couldn't understand what he wrote. There are times where I get up middle of the night, I grab my phone and just put it in my notes. Something I think of funny. I mean, any part of the day, wherever I'm at, I need my phone because I put thoughts down there. Then I go through them. I think about how I'm going to try and get that into. I don't really go from like, my process isn't trying to go joke to joke to joke. It's just whatever I have. There's really no rhyme or reason how I write my set out. It's just like when I got here, I wrote my set out what I was going to do. There's no connecting anything. It's just whatever comes up, like points that I talk about. And it's not the best way to do it, but that's that's the way that works for me. Because sometimes I think of something, you know, look at my notes, and I'm going through a joke, and then something else will pop up, so I go with that. And if something can connect me to another joke, I just pretty much like freestyling, you know, just whatever I think of. Because there was a joke I had in, I was in Black Bear Casino, you know, a really, not a dirty joke, but a joke that just popped out of my head, and it had like the biggest pop of the night, and I was like, where did that come from, you know, because I was just going off what I was feeding off the crowd, you know. I know it sounds generic, like Hulk Hogan, you know, hulking up, but once you feel that energy in the crowd, you can just, they feel like they power you up sometimes. That's what I felt today. It was kind of weird because usually when I do the conferences, there's just, you know, a few people into it, but it seemed like the whole crowd was just, you know, feeling what I was saying, and it just helps me get from whatever I'm trying to say. And like jumping on rocks in the water, you know, there's no rhyme or reason. I just, whatever comes up.
Yeah, no, the crowd energy definitely plays a part in what kind of performance you're gonna have. I've like been to communities where a lot of the kids and the youth and, you know, the handful of the adults that are at the show were just into it right from the jump. And then there's times, and then like I'm just feeding off it, and I'm just going off. Like even like what I'll say in between songs, I'm all of a sudden funny. Like I'm a great MC. Yeah. I'm like conversating with the crowd and pointing out things. You just got a nice swag and flow with what you're doing. You're so confident. And then there's been times where I gotta like really try to work through it. A tough crowd, you know. It's like everyone's sitting, everyone's all Indianish. You know, I'll try to do the when I say yeah, you say it, and then no one says anything. I'm just like, oh, tough crowd. You know, I'm trying to like just work through it. So like, man, the audience is it plays a huge role, and you can see it today. You had a couple of moments where it wasn't even necessarily the big punchline or the, you know, the joke of your story. You just said something, and it was probably just sounded resi as hell, and the crowd was like, he's a resi mess.
The thing about the way everything felt so right today, you know, the crowd, everything, was that it's really important for me to get the energy walking on stage. You know, that I always want some theme music, walkout music, entrance music, but that stone cold entrance music, oh man, that got me fired up, man.
All right,
honest to God, I was like, wow, I should do that every time, man. That was because I try to find a perfect song to come out to, and usually I can't really get one that really gets me, but that stone cold, that breaking of the glass was just, that's all it took, man. I just might do that every show now.
That sound bite of the glass breaking, and then his, you know, the electric guitar and drums coming in, like that was like a soundbite we heard as kids watching the Attitude Era wrestling go through, and it was just like, oh god, here comes Stone Cold.
Yeah, the whole crowd that pop and
I know you're big on wrestling, you know. So I was like, I'm gonna give this guy some like wrestling music, and I was like, gotta do Stone Cold, you know.
Main one,
definitely. Where can the people find you on social media?
My Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is at the Johnny R, TheJonnyR, no H. I got my IndianWay.com website that I need to update, and I think I still have my JohnnyRComedy.com website too. And YouTube is YouTube.com/94Warriors, the number 94, which I've had since 2006. So I've been doing the media stuff for many moons now, and it seems like it's all finally starting to come together. And
a little backstory behind 94 Warriors, at least from my version. Obviously, it's something for you. That's when you were in high school, right? So like 94 Warriors, you know, the reason basketball culture is the way it is today in Red Lake, you always got to give props to the 1994 team, the 93-94 Red Lake Warriors. First team to win a district title in a decade, and the one before that, it was a long time. Before that, it was 85 with the Wee Bad. And before that, it was like 30 years. So anyways, like, you know, this is the mid-90s when basketball culture was different. You have the Bulls, the Attitude, and the Bad Boys, and, you know, off the Bad Boys.
The good old days.
Yeah, like there was just this attitude about basketball in the mid-90s. Like the gym would be packed. Like I remember those days, like, you know, I was 5 and 6 years old, and my brother was on those teams, and that's about the time when you start collecting memories, you know, as a human. And it's like, yeah, I remember being at BSU for their district title games, and that place is being shoulder to shoulder packed.
I was looking at them pictures, man. Those were the days, man.
God, like I can't imagine like how those players felt, just like hitting a three, or, you know, just getting a bucket, or like, you know how the Red Lake played, they played res ball, they had some style. So like whenever they, you know, did something and how the crowd would react, God, I can't imagine that rush. Like, yeah, just seeing what, so like, you know, Bob and Peach were sophomores at the time, and that was Kevon's junior year, Kev's senior year. Yeah, so the 94 Warriors are basically, they were the launch pad, which created this whole, you know, frenzy of Red Lake Warrior basketball. And, you know, ever since then, you know, the Delwyn Holtison, Gerald Kingbird era of the late 90s, you know, the early 2000s of the Dominic Johnson and Matt Graves, you know, and then all the way up until, you know, the 4-year state run of Rob McClain and his crew. You know, it all started, you know, it was always there. There was always a love for basketball. It's definitely a native sport where natives, you know, attract to it. But for, you know, the basketball culture today, its roots come from the 1994 Red Lake Warriors. So shout out to the 94 Warriors, and everybody look up Indian Way podcast, look up Johnny R's social media and everything, and appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Good set today, and keep up the good work, brother.
Be rich.
This is Red Mike Podcast.
Giga Wabaman, Miigwech for tuning in to Red Mike Podcast.
Oh yeah. Here, let's act like we're still doing it. Oh, let me just stop. You want to hit the red button on that too, so that stops?